This is Robert Martellacci of the MindShare Learning Report, Canada's learning and technology eMagazine. And welcome to this week in Canadian EdTech special edition. I'm honored to have join me for a MindShare Learning moment, award-winning Dr. Guy Tetrault, the Director and CEO of SunWest School Division, who is on his final remaining weeks before retirement after almost 50 years in education. He founded one of the first cyber schools in 1995 in Alberta. He's a real visionary when it comes to innovation in education, award-winning C21 Shifting Minds Award for their work using online blended learning, known as PeBL, electronic personalized blended learning, authored a book along with a number of colleagues that they've shared freely for the rest of the country, and has been very generous in his time as part of C21 Canada. He was one of the founding members of the CEO Academy. Guy Tetrault, I cannot believe it was 6 years ago that you joined C21 Canada as part of the family, and that you are now on the verge of a new chapter in your career. Congratulations, first of all, on 50 incredible years in education. And I first came across you when I entered the sector as part of the learning company, coming out to the Alberta Online Conference back in the late 90s. I mean, that was eons ago. And, it took 50 years to be an overnight success. And here we are in a crisis, and it's certainly coming of age, isn't it? Thank you for joining me. I hope the family's well.
Well, thanks, Robert. It doesn't seem that long. It just kind of skips by real fast.
Well, when you're passionate about what you're doing, time does fly. And I really value your thought leadership and your friendship as we've got to know each other over the years. And, it's never been a more important time to be in education. And thanks to the groundwork that you've done with your colleagues in SunWest School Division, and the inspiration and the leadership as part of C21 Canada, having that vision of innovation, the 7 C's, and the blended learning component, and the future proofing, if you will, of teachers and students is paying off in a sense during these challenging times.
Yeah, I think sometimes you get lucky, I guess. A number of things certainly came together at the same time for us in SunWest. Certainly we had been working on problem-based learning, project-based learning, and we were really experimenting with how we could improve differentiation of instruction. And so today's term, of course, is personalized learning. And really, what is personalized learning? It's differentiation on steroids. And you've heard me say this before. What are the steroids? The steroids are technology. And so as we looked at project-based learning and blended-based learning, and then personalized learning, and then using technology, and we developed a distance learning center and developed over 175 online K-12 courses, and then started trying to help teachers use a blend of whatever they felt was needed for whatever student they were talking about, and then really tried to do 2 things. The first thing was to try and get students more skills in self-regulation. And as that developed, then we were able to convince teachers to change their teaching pedagogy so that they were really into personalized learning, and then used blended approaches. And at the same time, we still had a number of students wanting to go online and get out of that brick and mortar school. So to the point where we have 42 schools in our division, but today, before the pandemic, we had a quarter of our students were doing all of their learning online.
Incredible.
Multiplied that way. So when the pandemic hit and we were all having to go home, the biggest curve for us would have been our brick and mortar teachers, but I'd say 80% of them were used to using technology, personalizing learning. So it wasn't as scary for them, but nevertheless, still a fairly steep learning curve. And so we encouraged the partner school divisions in the province who were purchasing their online learning from us, come on board with us and get involved in getting teachers working in professional learning communities. What we've done is we've ensured that we have at least one teacher on each PLC team.
Brilliant.
As an online teacher, and so that was helping give them some of that experience and that expertise. And at the same time, with the resource bank that we had developed, then it was just a natural to start putting a hub together that was completely geared to professional development for teachers to help them deliver learning at a distance.
Well, with that, I want to thank you for contributing vastly to our Canadian Learning Resources Hub with your resource bank that is freely available. And that's so rich. I explored it a little bit, and incredible what you have done. I have to ask you, it begs the question, what was the hook for you that inspired you to embrace technology-infused pedagogy? Because everyone, it's that growth mindset. How do you nurture that in students and teachers?
I think initially we were back in 95 when we started St. Gabriel Cyber School. We were probably, there was two groups of people. We were focusing more on homeschoolers and who weren't doing well trying to be the teacher for their child, but then also professional hockey, junior hockey players, and people getting into professional sports and activities, and families traveling around the world. So how do we all of those? Once we did that, we also found that there was quite a niche for many students who, for whatever reason, whether it was bullying or other reasons, were not comfortable and were not functioning well in our regular brick and mortar schools. Once we had an alternative for them and they could develop friendships within an online environment without having a lot of the other ingredients that worked against them in a regular school, all of a sudden education started to take off, and we realized there's no one size that fits all.
Right.
Let's put as many things together so that we have options for people to choose from.
So here we are. Brilliant. Thank you for that insight. Here we are in COVID learning time, alternate, and we've all seen a variation of implementations across the country, from BC to Newfoundland to Nunavut and the Yukon. If you turn back the clock, would you do things any differently than what you've done? Or is there something that we could have done differently in terms of a national initiative? Should there be a national task force that comes out of this? Everyone was trying to figure this out. I don't know how efficient it was on a national scale to have perhaps collaborated a little more and learn from, definitely learn from this experience that were thrust upon us, that's been thrust upon us, and so that we're better prepared to future-proof our teachers and students, and should this happen again.
I think during my career, the biggest stumbling block for trying to convince people of the merits of looking at online learning and that has been people's mental thoughts around what online learning is. We've had correspondence courses since the 60s or even earlier than that. And those old correspondence courses played an excellent role for what they were developed for, but they were a big binder full of worksheets, and you got the binder and the principal put you in a room, and if you were supervised it helped, but usually you weren't, and you'd open the binder and you'd start reading and doing worksheets. And so when we talk to people about online learning, that connotation comes into mind. And so this biggest stumbling block is trying to get people to understand we have progressed so far in technology that there are all kinds of fantastic tools that we can use that help a teacher with a student. And that's been the biggest stumbling block. And therefore, we've had the motto in our division and throughout my career is build it and they will come. Now, today's pandemic is just a boost. You know, it's unfortunate that it's causing the amount of chaos it is, the amount of deaths that are happening, and the amount of bankruptcies, et cetera, et cetera. The mental well-being of people are under severe pressure. But the golden lining, if you will, to this is people are starting to realize, wow, you know, there is another way to learn, or there are multiple ways to learn. And for some who never experienced this before, it's truly amazing for them. The other thing, another byproduct, is that for the first time in a long time, families have been forced to be families. Now, in some situations, that's not good. We realize that. There's more abuse happening, etc. But in many situations, families, mothers and fathers are starting to realize this is pretty special that we can spend all with our children. And with the influx of an online type of education that they can access and get help with, I truly believe that once we have a cure for this COVID-19 and we come back, there will be a real difference in the world, and we're not just going to go back to the way it was before March 13th. We will not. It'll be quite a change. What will that change be? That's what we need to prepare for now, and it'll be a combination of many things. For some people, yes, we'll need to get them back into the brick and mortar school, but for others, there's going to be blends, and there's going to be opportunities to do different things and to do blended learning with students, and maybe finally get away from the old grade structure, from the structure that was built really in the industrial era, where, you know, we put them all in rows, gave them all the same thing at the same time, and thought that was the way to go. We are now fully immersed into personalized learning, and we have the tools and methodologies to make it fantastic. So from my perspective, this pandemic is really going to help promote where we need to go in learning in the future.
Well, it's certainly, thank you for that. It's certainly providing an accelerator and, you know, and a path to personalized learning. As, you know, we've talked about in the past, it really is a differentiator. And I was reading an article from Edutopia this morning, magazine, and it highlighted how kids who normally aren't very communicative in class, or, you know, the quieter ones, the ones who might be on a spectrum or, you know, assistive learning program, are empowered and to share more and to be more productive and successful doing the remote learning, which is quite fascinating.
Online teachers have known for a long time that their communication with their students is accelerated many times than it is in a regular classroom. And I'll give two examples.
Right.
If you have 25 students in your classroom, typically there's 5 of the kids that are always wanting to ask all the questions. And there's 5 of the kids in the classroom that would never say a word. And there's another 15 in the middle that will say something.
Sure.
And so if one kid raises their hand, then the answer teacher deals with that question, and there's 4 others waiting to talk, and the bell goes. Well, the class is over, that's it, everybody goes out. In online learning, first of all, every one of the 25 kids is going to put up their hand because they're not scared, because there's nobody beside them or nobody watching them, and there's no bell. And so when 25 questions go up, the teacher is not finished until they've answered 25 students. Quite a difference.
Absolutely. So that in itself is quite telling about the power and potential of online learning. Dr. Guy Tetrault, we can make this a 5-part series with all your vast knowledge. We can capture it 1 decade at a time, you know. But I'm very grateful of your time today. So what's next? What do you talked about how we need to prepare and what to expect going forward. What's next for you? I could see a book coming out of this. You've been part of one book most recently, but I'm excited to hear about what's next, and I look forward to perhaps collaborating with you in the future.
Well, I think we need to get more provinces, school divisions, provinces, teachers working together. So I just had a call this morning from Alberta that are very interested in what we did in Saskatchewan with the resource bank, the digital resource bank.
Right.
They would like to develop something like that for Alberta. And so my comments to them when we do get connected will be, why would you try and reinvent the wheel? Let's get together. Let's share this. Let's not start all over. And then as we build and get more provinces on board, we have 2 boards in New Brunswick that are interested as well. And so what we need to do is convince people that we can all work together and share. And then there's no big costs involved, and teachers and students are the benefactors.
With that, I look forward to our continued collaboration, Dr. Tetrault.
Thank you. Good luck, Robert.
That was Dr. Guy Tetrault, the outgoing director and CEO of the SunWest School Division. My name is Robert Martellacci of the MindShare Learning Report. Be sure to check out www.MindShare Learning to get your latest issue. And until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep the learning curve steep.